humiliated the feds who were trying to lock him up for life. And that's exactly why we're doing a complete recap of everything you missed during the Diddy trial, including exactly how Diddy beat the feds at their own game.
It ain't over with yet, y'all. I'm letting y'all know. It's not over with yet. It is not over. What is up? What is up, YouTube? Hey, check it out. Without a doubt, it is cold out here. Hey, I'm gonna pump this song, see what it sound like outside, y'all.
482.
Yeah.
1107.
Here we go.
323 to 584. D5, let us know. You'll be out on that.
I can't believe Diddy locked in a cell. Tunnels under his house and he can't make bail. Neighbors scared stiff, won't retrieve they ball. If it bounce over Diddy gate, they don't call. Ain't no doorbell ringing, ain't no fence climbing. They say the devil dance quiet when the stars are lining. Talk in the street about basements with screams, where the silence too loud and the truth still bleed. Lawyer walks off, said the case too thick. Even his mama on IV drip, sick, trying to detox demon while praying on lies. But you can't cleanse blood when it drips from the sky.
Lawyers will argue today that Sean Combs deserves some special treatment. They're hoping to get him out from behind bars as quickly as possible. This morning, the case against Sean Combs returns to court following the split verdict.
I can't believe I saw the twins in the pews, eyes wide shut, trying to dodge daddy's snooze. Courtroom silence when they walking slow. I felt the shame hit the floor like a soul on a go. They say he comfy now. Sheets folded neat, other inmates doing favors just to eat. He's still moving like a mobile with a plan, but God don't blink, the karma hits like a fan. Cases dropping daily, names ain't redacted. One brave soul said, nah, I ain't masking. I'm not anonymous, I'm proud with the pen. Said you're gonna remember this truth again and again.
We are just getting started. We're going to win, and we're not going to stop until he walks out of prison, a free man to his family. The defense argues there are exceptional circumstances.
I can't believe Diddy was found not guilty, but the vibe in the room still felt filthy. Face to face, I ain't flinch or shake. I told him what you did to that girl was a damn disgrace. I can't believe Diddy was found not guilty, but the vibe in the room still felt filthy. Face to face, I ain't flinch or shake. I told him what you did to that girl was a damn disgrace. I can't believe. I can't believe how cold it is out here, y'all. I can't believe how cold it is out here. Everything they hid from us about Diddy's case. What? Hey. Y'all hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, man. Let's get into this bad boy.
Diddy really handed the federal government their biggest L in decades.
The sentencing of Sean Diddy Combs, a judge handing down a 4-year sentence for the rap mogul convicted on 2 prosecution-related charges.
For months, the entire rap game has been holding its breath as the Diddy trial played out. From reigning as one of the industry's top power players to watching his empire crumble, Sean Diddy Combs faced a Shakespeare-level downfall. And with non-stop scandal and betrayal, the Diddy case touched everything from the music industry to the highest reaches of politics. But now, after endless speculation, conspiracy theories, memes, and rumors, Diddy has been sentenced and is heading straight to jail. But that's not the whole story. The diddler might be behind bars, but here's the truth. Sean Combs got away with a lot. And when you take a closer look at the trial, it's obvious that Diddy absolutely humiliated the feds who were trying to lock him up for life. And that's exactly why we're doing a complete recap of everything you missed during the Diddy trial, including exactly how Diddy beat the feds at their own game.
It ain't over with yet, y'all. I'm letting y'all know. It's not over with yet. It is not over.
Why did prosecutors insist on treating Diddy like a mob boss? Which witness gave the most shocking, devastating testimony in the courtroom? And why exactly did Diddy's own lawyers call him a... That's crazy. If you've been following the channel, you know I've had the most up-to-date, real-time analysis on what exactly went on in that courthouse, including bringing legal experts on to talk about the case. We've gone back through every single detail of those court records just so we can explain how the feds messed this up so badly and why Diddy came out victorious. And lastly, we're gonna inspect the fallout of Diddy's headline-making sentencing. How are Diddy's biggest allies and worst ops reacting to the news? And why are there still so many unanswered questions questions about Sean Combs' dark secrets.
Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity.
Before the trial even started, the Diddy case was filled with controversy. Diddy was formally arrested and indicted in September of 2024, 8 months before his trial began. During those 8 months, Diddy tried everything he could to get out of jail. His legal team tried to get Diddy out on bail not once, not twice, not even 3 times. Despite offering a $50 million bail package, house arrest, 0 internet privileges, and promising not to see any, quote, female visitors, the judge denied Diddy's bond proposals 4 separate times. Federal prosecutors even claimed that Diddy was already actively involved in contacting potential witnesses. They argued that letting Sean Combs out of jail could risk the safety of not only witnesses, but might even tamper with the entire trial. Basically, they were saying that Diddy was the fucking Joker, and he had to stay locked up no matter what. The feds kept Diddy incarcerated at MDC Brooklyn, which has a reputation for being one of the most notorious jails in the entire country. And for context, this is the same jail that Jeffrey Epstein was mysteriously unalived in. But when Diddy realized he had 0 chance of being let out on bail, he decided to assemble a dream team of lawyers. Diddy spent millions of dollars hiring some of the best criminal defense attorneys in the game. One of his lead lawyers was none other than Mark Agnifilio, who also happens to be defending Luigi Mangione, the guy accused of assassinating the healthcare CEO. Diddy also hired Terry Garagos, the so-called Nepo baby lawyer whose celebrity lawyer dad once defended Chris Brown. But Diddy's secret weapon was definitely Brian Steele. Over the past few years, Brian Steele became famous for defending Young Thug in a sprawling racketeering case. While Young Thug was accused of being a gang leader, Brian Steele stuck by his side and managed to get him out of jail on probation. The Young Thug trial made Brian Steele a star, and that's a huge part of why Diddy decided to recruit him to his side. And Diddy needed all the help he could get, because the feds were accusing him of crimes serious enough to get him life in prison. Diddy was charged with 3 different felonies: sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution, and racketeering. The feds were basically saying that Diddy was a mastermind who ran his very own criminal organization. Quote, for decades, Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, the defendant, abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs relied on the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise where members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. The feds were coming at Diddy hard, but this also ended up being their biggest mistake. The feds decided to hit Diddy with a racketeering and conspiracy charge, also known as RICO. This basically means that if prosecutors could prove that Diddy ordered these crimes to take place, he'd be found guilty and could potentially face life in prison. Now, historically, RICO has been used to disrupt organized crime. That means prosecutors use RICO to take down mafia families and biker gangs. But now they are out here saying that Diddy was on the level of mob bosses like John Gotti. And this is where the first big red flag of the entire Diddy case comes into play. Usually in RICO cases, a whole bunch of people are put on trial. With the Young Thug RICO case in Georgia, there were damn near 30 defendants. But in the Diddy case, there was only one person charged with the crime, and that was Diddy. No co-defendants, and that's damn near unheard of. Right then and there, people should have realized that this RICO case was way different than anything we've seen before. I mean, even Dave Chappelle said it.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. They got this guy in a RICO case by himself.
If Diddy was found guilty on those RICO charges, it could have led to decades in federal prison.
Just last week, that woman, identified by the pseudonym Jane, broke down in court while describing encounters with multiple sexual partners during so-called hotel nights with Combs, similar to those now infamous freak-offs.
When the trial finally started in May of 2024, the feds brought in dozens of witnesses to testify against Sean Combs. From the very start, the Diddy trial was an absolute media circus. When you think about it, Diddy is probably the most famous celebrity to go on trial since O.J. Simpson. And both the judge and prosecutors insisted on protecting the identity of Diddy's alleged victims, so their names weren't revealed to the public. But Diddy's longtime partner, Cassie Ventura, decided to go public with her identity from the very start. In fact, the feds clearly considered Cassie to be their star witness. Her testimony was supposed to be the centerpiece of their case against Diddy. Cassie had been in a high-profile relationship with Diddy for over 11 years. Their relationship started after Diddy signed her to his label Bad Boy Records when she was just 19 years old. During her testimony, Cassie described her entire history with Diddy, including how she originally saw him as, quote, a boss and larger-than-life mentor. Cassie later explained how Diddy kissed her during her 21st birthday party in Vegas and how he introduced her to drugs. But after they started talking, Cassie said things got way darker. Quote, within the first year of our relationship, he proposed this idea, this cool encounter that he called voyeurism, where he would watch me be in course with a third party, specifically with another man. Cassie described how Diddy would task her with hiring male escorts and providing her with cash to pay them. She also said that Diddy had very specific physical requirements of each of these escorts, and he had to personally approve of each one. Cassie described how Diddy would watch her painstakingly direct her encounters with other men, which he called freak-offs. Cassie testified that they mostly took place in hotel rooms in places like Miami, Los Angeles, Vegas, and New York. These freak-offs were fueled by non-stop drug use and could sometimes last for as long as 3 days. They were so demanding that it would take Cassie days just to recover from the exhaustion and dehydration. She even said that freak-offs became a full-time job. Diddy expected her to invest all her time in fulfilling his dark and twisted fantasies to the point that she had nothing else. And the freak-offs were just the tip of the iceberg. Cassie also described Diddy's non-stop physical abuse, which included beatings when he would, quote, smash me in my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head if I was down. She even described incidents where Diddy allegedly sexually assaulted her. Cassie also testified about how Diddy ruthlessly controlled every aspect of her life. She said that Diddy wouldn't allow her to release music, even though she recorded hundreds of songs, trapping her into a contract with Bad Boy. She also talked about how Diddy and his staff maintained constant surveillance of her and how Diddy would, quote, punish her depending on how he felt. I would get my car taken away. I got kicked out of my house, my apartment. I had jewelry taken away. It was very random depending how he felt. Cassie also talked about how she physically suffered because of her romance with Diddy. The constant drug use and marathon freak-off sessions led to Cassie developing an opioid addiction, stomach problems, infections, and sores. She also said she was traumatized because Diddy constantly threatened to release videos of his deranged freak-offs, blackmailing her into silence. The jury was also shown security footage from 2016 of Diddy attacking Cassie in a hotel room hallway. Diddy's lawyers fought like hell to keep this video footage from being played during the trial, and they lost. The surveillance video clearly shows Diddy kicking and dragging Cassie while she tries to escape from a freak-off. The feds even called hotel security guard Eddie Garcia to the stand. He testified that Diddy gave him a $100,000 cash bribe to help bury the footage. Cassie Ventura's testimony absolutely shook the courtroom. Inside sources say the mood was extremely heavy and emotional, and the jury seemed sincerely affected by everything she said. Federal prosecutors even brought in an army of witnesses to back up Cassie's testimony. Dawn Richards, a singer who was once a part of Diddy's girl group Danity Kane, testified that she saw Diddy punch Cassie in the middle of a restaurant. Cassie's mother, Reggie Ventura, claimed that Diddy blackmailed her into paying $20,000 so she wouldn't leak a sex tape of her daughter. One of Cassie's close friends, Brianna Bana Bongola, alleged that Diddy literally dangled her off a 17th story balcony and that she saw him throw a knife at Cassie. The feds even called in the escorts that Diddy used for freak-offs. One of these escorts, a male stripper who goes by the name The Punisher. Punisher is a crazy fucking stripper name. That's nuts. Said that Diddy wore a Muslim burqa while taking care of himself during a freak-off at the Trump Tower. There's so much wrong with that sentence, bro. What the fuck? Kid Cudi, another star witness, was called to the stand to testify about how he was seeing Cassie while she was still in a relationship with Diddy. Cudi described how Diddy allegedly broke into his house, messed with his dog, and threatened him. Cudi even claimed that Diddy was behind a mysterious bombing that set his Porsche on fire. Cudi even testified that Diddy reminded him of a, quote, Marvel supervillain. And y'all, that's literally not even half of it. The prosecution also called in another alleged Diddy victim, identified as only Jane Doe, to the stand. During her emotional testimony, Jane described her romantic fling with Diddy, and it sounded eerily like what happened to Cassie. Jane, who was a single mom living in Miami, described how Diddy wined and dined her before insisting that they start taking drugs together. That's when Diddy asked her to take part in his sick freak-off fantasies, or as Jane Doe called them, quote, hotel nights. Just like Cassie, Jane testified that Diddy's obsession with these hotel nights took over everything. He had to have absolute control. Not only did he specifically order Jane to change her nails, hair, skin tan, and teeth to his liking, but he directed every single one of Jane's encounters with these male prostitutes. And just like Cassie, Jane testified that Diddy was extremely abusive. She alleged that he brutalized her physically and demanded she take part in hotel nights even when she didn't want to. Jane Doe read her own text messages out to the courtroom where she begged Diddy to stop. Quote, I'm not a porn star, I'm not an animal. I need a break, I don't want to do anything, I've hit a wall. The feds even brought a bunch of Diddy's former staff to testify against their boss. Brendan Paul, an ex-Diddy assistant, testified that part of his job included setting up Diddy's disturbing sex parties, which he called, quote, Wild King Nights. Why they got so many nicknames? That's crazy. He would literally go to hotel rooms before Diddy got there and stock them with baby oil, lube, alcohol, and a Gucci pouch filled with hard drugs. And when Diddy was done, Brendan would go back in there and mop up the mess that his boss made. That must have been one of the most disgusting jobs in the world. Another assistant, George Kaplan, said that he watched Diddy physically attack Cassie while they were on a private plane together in 2015. And another assistant, only identified as Mia, said that she saw Diddy assault Cassie numerous times, including at Prince's house. Mia also testified that Diddy even really abused her. Basically, the feds dumped an avalanche of evidence against Diddy, calling for 34 different witnesses to testify against him.
I'm going to take your souls. We have the power. We decide what's hot. If we don't go, nobody goes.
But to be real, they still didn't do enough. The truth is, there are huge gaps in how the feds presented their case against Diddy. When you really look at it, they f***ed up in some pretty big ways. One really big controversy is that one of the victims that was supposed to testify against Diddy straight up vanished. Like, disappeared. If you look at the indictment against Diddy, the feds clearly named someone identified as victim 3 who was supposed to testify. But on May 23rd of 2025, the prosecutors announced that they could no longer reach victim 3 and that they weren't sure if she would make an appearance or not. Obviously, this is a huge up, especially since victim 3 was one of the pillars of the case against Sean Combs. Victim number 1 was Cassie Ventura, and victim number 2 was Jane Doe, but who was victim number 3? If you dig into courtroom transcripts, victim number 3 was actually identified by the name Gina multiple times throughout the trial. Cassie Ventura even admitted that Diddy was dating Gina while in a relationship with him. And if you go even deeper, it turns out that Gina gave an interview about Diddy all the way back in 2019. In a sit-down with gossip blogger Tasha K, Gina alleged that Diddy was abusive and forced her to have multiple abortions. That's crazy. And instead of tracking down Gina and getting her to testify in court, the prosecutors basically shrugged her off and moved on. And that's not even the only thing. As the feds made their case against Diddy, they frequently referenced his so-called right-hand woman and chief lieutenant, Christina KK Karam. Now, ever since the Diddy scandal broke, countless people have identified KK as the most important person in Diddy's life. While she's officially known as Sean Combs' chief of staff, she's also been called his manipulator-in-chief. Some sources have even compared her to Ghislaine Maxwell, who was convicted for trafficking underage girls for Jeffrey Epstein. Others say that KK knows more about Diddy's life than anybody on the planet, and she spends damn near 24 hours a day by his side and is in constant contact with him. Just weeks before the trial kicked off, KK released a statement denying the allegations against her. Quote, for months, horrific accusations have been made against me in various lawsuits regarding my former boss. I've never condoned or aided and abetted the sexual assault of anyone, nor have I ever drugged anyone. I'm confident that the allegations against me will be proven to be untrue. Despite all that, the feds never called Christina Karam to testify. Making that choice even crazier, countless other witnesses name-dropped KK during their testimonies. Mia, Diddy's former assistant who accused him of sexual and physical abuse, testified that KK played a huge role in her boss's personal life. She even says that KK put pressure on Cassie to get back together with Diddy. And from what everyone's saying, it sounds like KK was maybe the most most important person in Sean Combs' organization. But even though other witnesses mentioned her by name, the feds stayed clear of bringing her to the witness stand. The thing is, Diddy's lawyers noticed every single mistake that the prosecution made, and they exploited these mistakes in ways that affected the outcome of the trial. From the very beginning, Diddy's legal team accused the government of severe overreach. They argued, quote, "The government has no place in this man's bedroom." His lawyers even admitted that Diddy was violent towards women and that he abused drugs. But they argued that the feds weren't charging him with domestic violence or drug possession. Quote, "He's not charged with being mean. He's not charged with being a jerk. You may know of his love of baby oil. Is that a federal crime? No. We take full responsibility that there was domestic violence in this case. Domestic violence is not trafficking." As the feds called witness after witness, Diddy's team was super strategic about poking holes in the prosecution's narrative. And the number one way they did this was by framing Diddy's relationship with Cassie Ventura and Jane Doe as, quote, toxic. Diddy's lawyers focused on incidents where Cassie and Diddy fought, pushing Cassie to admit that she sometimes hit Diddy back. During one cross-examination, Diddy's lawyers even played audio tape of Cassie threatening to unalive 50 Cent's longtime DJ Who Kid when he mentioned he saw her sex tape. While the prosecution argued that Cassie and Jane were forced into freak-offs, Diddy's team insisted that the freak-offs were consensual. Diddy's lawyer, Mark Agnifilio, called Diddy a swinger and tried to convince the jury that the freak-offs were just a part of his fantasies. In one super important moment, Diddy's lawyers got Jane Doe to say on record that Diddy was a, quote, and that his fantasies weren't super uncommon. She testified saying also have a bi-curiosity that they were too ashamed to experience themselves. So they used the women to venture out into this curiosity without venturing out onto this activity themselves. Team Diddy was basically trying to tell the jury that their client's freak-off fantasies might be weird and twisted, but that he wasn't the only person taking part in them. Another part of Team Diddy's master strategy was making the trial all about money. From their opening statements, Diddy's lawyers insisted that the actual motivation behind the case was cold hard cash. Quote, "This isn't about a crime, this is about money." And Team Diddy made that point over and over and over again. They kept emphasizing the financial benefits of being with Diddy, arguing that his alleged victims stayed with him for the money. Jane Doe testified that Diddy didn't just pay for her veneers and her $10,000 a month rent, but that he was still paying her rent even while she was testifying against him. Diddy's lawyers also focused on Cassie's lawsuit against Diddy, where he settled for a reported $20 million. Cassie testified that she would happily give all the money back if it meant that she wouldn't have to have participated in any of Diddy's deranged freak-offs. When you look at everything that happened, Diddy's lawyers created a whole counter-narrative with every single witness the feds called up. The prosecution painted Sean Combs as a sex trafficking mob boss who threatened every single person who worked for him. The defense, meanwhile, argued that Diddy was a rich freak who clearly had a lot of problems and a lot of money. And while Diddy's lawyers admitted that he could be violent, they still tried to paint him as the victim. But here's what's even crazier. Team Diddy handled the case with an entirely different vibe than the prosecution. Remember, the prosecution called up 34 witnesses and their testimony took 7 weeks to get through. But when it came time for the defense to call their witnesses, guess how many people they called to the stand? None. 0. They basically treated the whole case like a waste of time, and that could either come across as extremely cocky or super confident. Even during closing arguments, the prosecution instructed that the jury to treat the case super seriously. For 5 hours, the prosecutors recapped the case against Diddy, arguing that he was a heinous criminal who deserved to go to prison. Quote, "He's the leader of a criminal enterprise. He doesn't take no for an answer." The prosecution argued that Diddy's lawyers were dead wrong when they claimed the freak-offs were consensual. They stressed that victims like Cassie were threatened with violence if they didn't perform for Diddy, and replayed the video of Diddy beating Cassie in the hotel hallway to stress, quote, "This is what happens when Cassie said no." But when it came time for Diddy's defense team to make their closing arguments, they treated the whole thing like a joke. Mark Agnifilio, Diddy's lead lawyer, mocked the feds in their case against Diddy. He made fun of the Department of Homeland Security's raids on Diddy's homes, where they found insane amounts of baby oil. Quote, "The streets of America, safe from Astroglide." According to Agnifilio, the feds have gone way too far. He argued that Cassie had gotten rich over suing Diddy and that all the accusations against his client were financially motivated. He also made fun of Cassie for being with Kid Cudi and Diddy at the same time, saying, quote, "Cassie's keeping it gangster," and even called Cassie and Diddy's violent relationship a modern love story. They were their best selves when it came to sex. They matched up when it comes to sex. And if any of that sounded out of pocket to you, the reality is the jury ate it up. Inside sources claim that members of the jury were laughing along as Agdafilio mocked witnesses. He even singled out the Fed's racketeering charge, bringing up the same point I just mentioned, that nobody else was indicted, which was weird as f. When the closing arguments wrapped up, the jury was sent away to deliberate. Most experts believe the deliberations would take at least a few weeks, especially since the trial had lasted about 2 months. But people were shocked when the jury announced they came up with a verdict in just 2 days. The fact that the jury was able to decide the case so quickly only proves my point that this trial was screwed up. On July 2nd of 2025, the jury announced that Sean Diddy Combs was not guilty on trafficking and racketeering charges. These were the most serious crimes that Diddy was charged with, and him being acquitted on those counts was a huge victory for his legal team. But Diddy wasn't completely off the hook. The jury did find Diddy guilty on 2 counts of transportation for To break it down, it means the jury agreed that Diddy transported both Cassie and Jane Doe to places where they would participate in sex acts. And while this is still a felony, it's way less of a serious charge, and Diddy was clearly relieved. As the verdict was read out, Diddy literally fell to his knees. It seemed like he thought he'd go free that very same day. But the judge had other plans. He scheduled sentencing for October and demanded that Diddy remain incarcerated until then. It turns out that Diddy's lawyers talking all the time about how their client was violent backfired just a little bit. The judge argued that given Diddy's confirmed violent history, he needed to remain in custody until he determined an appropriate sentence.
Combs is facing up to 20 years in prison, and on the eve of learning his fate, Diddy sent the judge a 4-page letter.
And the lead up to Diddy's sentencing hearing was full of even more drama. Diddy locked up, his lawyers assembled a bunch of supporters to write letters talking about how great of a person he was. Those supporters included family members like his mom Janice Combs and his sons Justin and Christian, but also celebrities like the City Girls Young Miami. Young Miami was in a public relationship with Diddy from 2021 to 2023, and she had a lot of nice things to say about Puffy. Quote, behind the scenes he was loving, genuine, supportive, and always encouraging. He believed in me, pushed for me to grow, and taught me how to be a better businesswoman. Diddy himself made a last-ditch effort to convince the judge that he needed a second chance. We obtained a 4-page letter Diddy personally wrote and sent in, where he begged Judge Varun Subramanian to have mercy on him. He even talked about wanting to unalive himself in jail. Quote, I lost my way, I got lost in my journey, lost in the drugs and the excess. My downfall was rooted in my selfishness. I've been humbled and broken to my core. Jail is designed to break you mentally, physically, and spiritually. Over the past year, there has been so many times that I wanted to give up. There's been so many days I thought I would be better off dead. The old me died in jail, and a new version of me was reborn. Prison will change you or kill you. I choose to live. Diddy also wrote that he had lost all of his businesses and his career, swearing that his time in MDC Brooklyn had forever changed him. He also acknowledged the surveillance video of him attacking Cassie, writing, quote, the scenes and images of me assaulting Cassie play over and over in my head daily. I literally lost my mind. I was dead wrong for putting my hands on the woman that I loved. I'm sorry for that and always will be. My domestic violence will forever be a heavy burden that I will have to forever carry. But Diddy wasn't the only one writing letters. Cassie Ventura also wrote a letter to the judge describing the trauma and pain she endured at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs. Quote, his defense attorneys claim he's a changed man and he wants to mentor abusers. I know firsthand what real mentorship looks like, and this disgusts me. He is not being truthful. I know that who he was to me, the manipulator, the aggressor, the abuser, the trafficker, is who he is as a human. He has no interest in changing or becoming better. Cassie acknowledged the jury's verdict, writing that they simply didn't understand the level of violence and suffering that Diddy was responsible for. Quote, while the jury did not seem to understand or believe that I engaged in freak-offs because of the force and coercion the defendant used against me, I know that is the truth, and his sentence should reflect the reality of the evidence in my lived experience as a victim. While Diddy was begging to go free, Cassie was begging the judge would not let him off lightly, straight up calling him a liar and manipulator who would never get better. The prosecution, who was clearly humiliated by Diddy's victory earlier that summer, argued that Diddy deserved 11 years in prison. Diddy's defense team, however, demanded that their client go free ASAP. And on October 3rd of 2025, the judge finally decided Diddy's fate. Before Diddy's sentence was formally announced, he dramatically addressed the court for the first time ever. During his statement, Diddy apologized to the alleged victims, saying, quote, "I want to personally apologize to Cassie Ventura for any harm I've caused her emotionally or physically. I don't take that lightly. I would like to apologize to her family. I'm so sorry. I would like to apologize to Jane. I'm sorry. I brought you into my mess." He also broke down in tears, sobbing while he begged the judge for mercy. He called his freak-off behavior, quote, "disgusting, shameful, and sick," and blamed his addiction. He turned to his family while crying, complaining that he had been, quote, "stripped down to nothing." He even promised to, quote, "never put my hands on another person again. I've learned my lesson." But even though Diddy claimed to have been a changed man, he was making some shady moves behind the scenes. The feds revealed that Diddy was booking lucrative speaking gigs in Miami for the very next week. He clearly expected to be let out of custody that day. But also, who was paying to see Diddy give a speech in Miami? Like, what? There's an audience for everything, I guess. Regardless, the judge had other plans. While Judge Submarinian credited Diddy for, quote, "being a champion in uplifting black and brown communities," he also felt that he needed to be punished. The judge sentenced Diddy to 50 months, which basically balances out to a 4-year sentence. He also ordered that Diddy pay a fine of $500,000 and that he receive 5 years to supervised release after he finishes his 4-year sentence. While this was far less than what the prosecutors were asking for, it also was far more than his lawyers wanted. Diddy walked into that courtroom expecting to be a free man. Instead, he was headed for federal prison.
The judge acknowledged his impressive career and commendable charity work, but imposed the 4-year sentence, saying a history of good works can't wash away the record in this case.
But now that the Diddy trial is finally over and done with, there's still way too many unanswered questions. Ever since Diddy was arrested, there have been countless rumors about how far his trial would go. There have been tons of accusations swirling around Diddy, but the actual trial covers a very small amount of these claims. While there's been a lot of attention around Diddy's freak-offs, numerous lawsuits have mentioned Diddy parties where guests and staff were allegedly drugged and assaulted. Those lawsuits targeting Diddy have also mentioned other stars who might have known about his secret life. Celebrities like Meek Mill, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Usher, Cuba Gooding Jr., and LeBron James have all been name-checked in other pending court cases involving Diddy. But the actual trial steered clear of all of this. There's at least 70 other court cases that have already been filed against Diddy, and more might be on the way. His alleged victims included everyone from record producers to models, security guards, and alleged underage victims. And that's not even counting the rumors surrounding Diddy's behavior. Diddy's been suspected of having a dark, twisted relationship with Justin Bieber. Those rumors have become so widespread that Justin Bieber's team responded to them during the trial. Although Justin is not among Sean Combs' victims, there have been individuals who have been genuinely harmed by him. Shifting focus away from this reality detracts from the justice these victims rightfully deserve. When you take all this into account, it really makes it seem like the Diddy trial was just the tip of the iceberg. Based on all these lawsuits and accusations, the trial didn't even begin to cover the extent of Diddy's alleged crimes. Diddy's most dedicated hater, 50 Cent, responded to every single twisted turn during the trial. After Diddy got hit with a 50-month sentence, 50 Cent offered to take over his ops speaking gigs in Miami, posting, quote, "I'm available." And that's not all. While the court tried to keep Jane Doe's identity a secret, 50 dropped numerous clues that she had a very personal connection to him. There's been nonstop speculation that Jane Doe might actually be Daphne Joy, the mother of 50 Cent's child. And when you take that into account, it sounds like there's an obvious reason why 50 hates Diddy so damn much. And even though Diddy's still headed to federal prison, his sentence is still generating a lot of controversy. A lot of people are pissed at the judge for giving Diddy only 50 months, arguing that Puffy's money, power, and fame helped him buy his way out of a harsher punishment. Diddy's lawyers, meanwhile, are arguing that the sentence is too unconstitutional and that they're seeking an immediate appeal. There's also a huge X factor in this whole situation: President Trump. For the past year, Trump has commented on Diddy's case, even hinting that he might consider granting Sean Combs a pardon. Trump and Diddy have a relationship that goes back decades. And while Diddy criticized Trump after he got into politics, the president seems like he still might have a soft spot for Puffy. On October 6 of 2025, just days after Diddy's sentencing, Trump confirmed that Diddy asked him for a presidential pardon.
I have a lot of people who have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy, has asked me for a pardon.
It's been an open secret for months that Diddy's been trying to get President Trump to intervene in his Fed case. And now Trump's pretty much confirmed that he's had communication with Diddy and that he's still dangling the possibility of helping his old friend out. At this point, Donald Trump might be Diddy's best chance at avoiding a 4-year prison sentence, and based on the fact that he was already trying to book speaking engagements in Miami, it's safe to say that a free Diddy will be emboldened like never before. After all, the government invested countless resources into trying to bury him with the RICO case. And even though the feds have a conviction rate of 97%, Diddy still beat them at their very own game. Diddy might do jail time, but he came out of this situation way better than anybody expected. And with more cases on the way, it's safe to say that we still have a lot to learn about Sean Combs' dark secrets. And if you want to know more about the other celebrities tied in with Diddy, I've already dropped a full breakdown. Stay locked in, more rap lore on the way.
Every celebrity going down with Diddy, baby.
Learn about Sean Combs' dark secrets. And if you want to know more about the other celebrities tied in with Diddy, I've already dropped a...
Wow, I gotta see that one, man. Hey, that's the whole thing from the rooter to the tutor, baby. That's the whole thing. I'm not gonna be able to do that. I'm gonna have to go inside, y'all. I can't believe how cold it is. I can't believe how cold it is out here, man. But I do know one thing. You right about that. The feds done really messed this whole case up. It's like the more the case went on, the more they was like, well, we're gonna let him slide. We're gonna let him slide. Whoever pulling the strings, y'all. Somebody is up there pulling the strings. Whoever was pulling the strings is like this. We just want to punish him a little bit. We don't want him to be life in jail because we need him to keep doing these freak off and doing all these other crazy stuff he doing behind the scenes. Him and Jay-Z, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? You got to say allegedly. But at the same time, we know what time it is. We know good and well they let Diddy off. All the people who have been hurt are suffering, man. 50 months is like almost a slap in the face, almost. But hey, we got to take something and hope that out of 80 civil cases, one of them is going to turn criminal. And we got our money on Lil Rod case. We got our money on that. Hey, I'm gonna get on up out of here, man. Thank y'all so much. I hope y'all watching while I'm out here freezing, trying to give y'all something a little different. Completely different, man. My house and everything, and I'm on the deck, so I'm up in the air. It's cold. Y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.